Ring neck. Oh, much better. Howdy, my little hooligans. Hello, hi, how are you doing? I hope life is swell. Today, we are actually going to be talking about the bench press, and I've had this video for way too long. It's been sitting in my freaking flash drive forever, and I haven't done it. So today is the day. We're finally doing it. We're talking about it. Now, what is the bench press? The bench press is one of the most popular chest moves you see people performing nowadays, and it's also one of the most popular compound lifts. Oh my God, my hair. Now, what is a compound lift? A compound lift is a lift that incorporates multiple muscle groups, meaning that you have to perform and recruit different muscle groups at one time to actually perform the lift safely, as opposed to an isolation move, which only hits one specific muscle group. That being said, there's a lot of room for being overwhelmed or feeling not so confident with this lift, because there's a lot happening at one time. So my goal today here is to hopefully clear up some things, give you a few cues that make you feel a little bit more secure in your lift and make it feel easier to perform, because I know what it's like to feel kind of lost with a specific exercise and just feel, intimidated by it. So we are going to just dive right in and start working these boobies. So right off the bat, I do have to throw out there that I am a huge advocate for mobility work and activation work before your major lifts. So as you can see, I have a long resistance band. I'm doing some up and overs. I would also suggest doing like push-ups, anything to basically warm up that rotator cuff and just, get it going, get it like nice and just mobile in that joint, because you're gonna need that for the bench press. So please, people, do not forget to warm up before these lifts. Now, going into the actual lifting phases. So I'm going to lay out step by step what is happening, but right now I'm gonna show you just what it looks like overall with obviously a sports bra. That way you can see the arch that I'm creating in my spine, in my back, to actually have the right form down. I know a lot of people are worried about the spine when it comes to the bench press. You see a lot of people doing these excessive curves, pretty much having their chest super sky high, just hello, heaven, here's my boobs. When you see those people curving their spines really excessively, right? Usually those are power lifters. That's the approach that they take when it comes to bench pressing. And does that mean that you need to be doing it that excessively? Probably not. However, it's nice to have some curve. Why? Because we're trying to protect the shoulders. So as you can see here, I'm not having a flat back approach. I'm having that curve. Not like a power lifter, but enough to where I can safely protect those shoulders and not have them vulnerable and not have them be prone to injury, because we don't want that. Obviously, if our shoulders get messed up in the bench press, everything else upper body wise gets messed up. So we want to avoid that as best as we can. Same thing with the bar path. As you can see, I'm not just flaring the elbows, but it's a controlled motion. It's going down to, I'd say, the bottom of my rib cage, pushing through with that chest. If you have a regular t-shirt on, you might notice that there is an issue with slipping on the bench. What I recommend for people who are struggling with that is putting a resistance band on the bench. So what you're gonna do is hoop one end of the band around the bench, twist it, and then hoop the other end on the other side of the bench. Adjust it so it's flat and it doesn't feel uncomfortable against your back. Now, breaking down the steps. Step one is creating the foundation and protecting the shoulders. So this is where you're going to see a lot of the back pinching, where you see the chest coming forward and the scaps coming backwards. As you can see, my scapulas are coming back, pinching in the middle of my back. The reason we are actually pinching the scaps together, right? We're trying to bring them closer together, have all the skin pretty much pinched back here and keep that tightness on the upper back, is because we're trying to protect the shoulders as best we can. We don't want necessarily this happening where the elbow is flaring out, right? We're at a 90-degree angle at this joint. What's happening is basically I can't really activate my triceps as well as if it was down here, which is why I recommend, if you have a hard time actually pulling the back, what you can do is use the bench rack itself to actually bring the shoulders back and push that chest forward, essentially ensuring that you are not going to slide backwards at all and you're going to be good on that bench. Now, step 2, keep it tight, keep it down. What does that mean? I'm talking about the booty. More often than not, you see people raising their hips and just like, using this for their leg drive. Is that good? Probably not. Because one, even though some people can get the weight up, you are utilizing the leg drive so much that it takes away the emphasis from the pecs and it actually puts it on the hips. The legs are now taking over the bench press. Is that the purpose of the move? No. So what we have to do is make sure that that butt stays down on that bench. It is sticking to the bench. Going down the body, step 3 is screwing down the feet. This is an easy one. It's just envisioning that the heels are driving down into the ground, pushing away from the body towards the back of the room. Now, step 4 is putting all of them together. And what that's going to look like is this right here. You're driving your feet into the ground, pushing away from the body, almost as if you were going to slide back towards that back room. What we're trying to do is essentially create this force that's pushing back towards the barbell, right? We're trying to help us get that barbell up as opposed to just doing it in this plane where it's going straight up and down. Because it's horizontal, you're going to be hitting these different parts of the body. You're going to have to make contact and try to check in cue-wise at each of these locations. Note, we have not performed the lift yet. We are literally just setting up for the most secure and stable lift still. So as you can see, if I'm trying to drive that force, this is what it looks like. Step 5, setting up the grip and gaze. Don't really need to give a location on this one. This one's pretty easy. I want you to have a grip that's wider than shoulder width apart and always start eye level with the bar, meaning that this is what I see. We're not trying to do this or this when it comes to lining up. We want to make sure it's actually at eye level as opposed to too far behind us or too far in front of us. And that's purely because how you unrack is going to determine how that bar path looks. If you start too far in front of the bar, you're going to have to reach all the way back for initiation, which means you're going to have to pop it out and shift it forward way more to start off. If it starts off too far in front of you, you're basically starting like this. That doesn't, no. Moving on to step 6. Now, step 6 is about screwing in the elbows. I know that sounds weird when you explain it, but what that looks like is this. You are basically trying to rotate those elbows inwards while having your hands on the bar. By doing this, you are basically taking the slack out of the bar, but for a bench press, right? You're trying to tighten up everything in that upper back, make sure everything is good to go and safe for performance. Moving on to step 7. Now, step 7 is all about lining up that lift. This one just means that when you unrack and you are in that starting position, make sure that your arms are straight. Wrists should be stacked over the rotator cuff. You do not want this happening over here or over here. You don't want this happening where it's in front of you or behind you, just like when you're about to unrack, because if you have this going on, right, your wrists are going to take a hit there. This is going to throw it into hyperextension, and with a certain weight load over time, that's no bueno. Going on to step 8. Step 8 is all about breathing, bracing, and bar path. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more complex. Bar path is the one that always trips people up, and I understand why, because when you're performing, you just think, oh, bring it down to the chest, bring it up. And at first glance, yes, that is what you're doing. But when it comes to controlling the actual barbell, you're going to want to follow a specific bar path. But before we talk about that, I'm going to talk about bracing. Bracing's a little bit easier to discuss because what I want you to do is imagine you are filling your stomach with air, just like a balloon. You're inflating the balloon. Then once you hit that comfort zone with the amount of air, I want you to imagine that someone is coming to punch your stomach. What's going to happen is you're going to have to compress the air down and think about protecting the organs. So I want you to take a deep inhale, press it down, and then perform the lift. As you can see, this is the type of stuff that makes a bench press a compound lift. If you're having to engage the core, the legs, and just make sure everything is safe, it's engaging multiple muscle groups in different ways. Now, when it comes to bar path, I wanted to provide an example of what the bar path should actually look like. So this is something I got off Google as a regular image. This is very on point. As you can see, we're trying to take our novice lift to the advanced lift, and that is what the bar path is actually going to look like. I also wanted to provide a little example of myself doing it. That way you can see what is happening on the descent and the ascension. Now, if you put everything we just talked about together, that is the bench press. That is what you're going to be doing for that lift. Now, I want to talk about what you should not be doing. So here's what to avoid with the bench press. You want to avoid elbow flaring, bar path being too vertical, hip shooting up on the concentric motion, not utilizing the leg drive, starting too far out behind you at initiation, and excessive wrist extension. If you avoid these things, you are going to be much better off than someone who doesn't, and you are also going to be saving yourself from injury in the long run. And that is about all I have for bench press advice. I hope some of you guys found this video helpful. I hope, in the long run, some of you see this and the bench press itself seems a little less intimidating. I know what it was once like to look at this move and think, oh no, that's for men. I don't need to work that, and I didn't realize how much I was holding myself back from not performing this move. It made everything so much easier to do when it came to upper body strength, and I feel so much more stronger in my shoulders. I feel good in my wrists. My grip is great. My chest is now I'm benching, guys. Who would have thought? Not me. But yes, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys next time for the next video. Please like and subscribe if you guys want to see more content from me, and also if you want to follow me on my socials, they will be listed right here.